over 150 years, Democrats have used violence and tyranny to control America. And the recent tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk proves that their playbook has not changed. These jokers are still a bunch of one-trick ponies. In 1865, a Democrat sympathizer killed Abraham Lincoln. From the KKK to Jim Crow, Democrats unleashed their terror across the South, effectively eradicating the Republican presence. In the 1960s, they blocked schools and bombed buildings through Marxist groups, and in 2020, BLM and Antifa burned down cities while Democrat leaders shared. And now, we are here. They celebrate the death of a man who stood for nothing but faith, family, and freedom. John Adams was absolutely right. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. That's why America is weary of Democrat tyranny.
Every one of you are. You're complicit in the attempted assassination of Donald Trump twice. You bear. Just be quiet. You are responsible for this because you are echoing the horrifically horrible political violent rhetoric that's being produced by the Democrat Party. Every single one of you here.
How can you say
you're
that
at fault.
You don't even know who the shooter is?
You know what? Knock it off. Knock it off.
Do you believe Republicans have problematic rhetoric?
You are responsible for that assassination yesterday, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
What about
it's disgusting.
Yeah, they should all be ashamed of themselves. And shout out to my girl April, man. Shout out to April. But, you know, it's no surprise, right? We have been hearing this type of rhetoric from Democrats for a long time now. Oh, Republicans are Nazis. Oh, Trump is Hitler. Trump's going to round people up, right? We've been hearing that from them for a while now. So it's no surprise when stuff, unfortunately, like what happened the other day happens. It's on their hands. But you know what Democrats are doing? Oh, no, not our fault. And if you don't believe me, here's Nancy Pelosi. Check it out.
People don't have any intention of saying something that's going to lead to something dangerous, but we cannot take responsibility for the minds that are out there and how they hear it.
Other Democrats are quickly calling for gun control before we have the full picture of the alleged assassin. John?
All right. Mike Emanuel for us. Mike, as always, thank you.
What I do know for sure is that, you know, Charlie was someone who once said, you know, guns save lives after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard, downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country by saying Juneteenth should never exist. And I think, you know, there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up, you know, like than to completely pretend that, you know, his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade or so.
Oh, please. Right. Why don't you start with the President of the United States, right? And every ugly meme he has posted and every ugly word.
Yeah, so you heard that there. Democrats, no, not their fault at all. Not their fault at all for spewing that nonsense. I want to play this clip from Joe Borelli, I believe that's how you say his name, on CNN because he says it perfectly. Check it out.
It would be good if one Democrat does what I have come on this network and said a million times. And I've looked at my own party, and when they're wrong, I've addressed that and said that and agree with them. But a lot of people who are of the left, of the Democratic Party, use the term Nazi, use the term fascist. Southern Poverty Law Center called Turning Point USA a right-wing extremist group, something on those lines. Those things aren't true. And when you hear, like, the Vice President of the United States call Trump and his supporters, downstream fascists and Nazis, it would be good for someone to come out and just acknowledge what we all know, that isn't the case. I think, though, bigger picture, we have to learn to differentiate between anger and hate in politics. Anger is what gets young people out there in the streets, putting up flyers, knocking on doors, advocating for candidates. It's what gets people to run for office. It's why people voted for Barack Obama or Donald Trump or whoever. Anger is a good force in politics. Hate and that dehumanization that was just mentioned, that is the problem. When you see your political opponent as subhuman, when you see them as a Nazi, when you see them as a fascist, you can mentally justify doing extreme things. That's the line that nobody in this system should cross. And we've done this before, and sometimes in the commercial breaks, I like to read some of the messages that I get, routinely, and we laugh at them, but in the back of my head, and now it's to the front of my view, some of these people are crazy. Some of these people are really problematic. And the conversation I had with my wife driving over here was, whether it's worth me being a vocal Trump supporter or a vocal conservative, whether it's actually worth doing it. And the answer I had was that it is. I mean, that the goal of political violence is to suppress free speech. So I think it is important for people to come out, say things that others find offensive, that others find, upset their core. That's part of the process. But I will tell a story, and I'll say who it is. Zohran Mamdani texted me today. And he is someone I've been right here in this chair criticizing, and I criticize him on many outlets. And he texted me something I said about him and another candidate. And we exchanged texts, and we had a laugh about it. And we said, great, see you soon. And I wish more people knew that the worst thing I want to happen to Zohran Mamdani is I want him to lose the race. And I do. I want him to lose. I don't want anything bad to happen to him. I think it would be beneficial if the talking heads of the world expose some of our pleasant chats in the green room, the pleasantries. I know many people on this show are friends personally. I'll be golfing with some people I debate occasionally in a couple of weeks. It's not all life and death all the time. We can debate fiercely. We can try to make each other lose. That's the goal of this all. But at the end of the day, we are all Americans. We are all hopefully swimming in the same direction. It would be.
Well said. Well said. But unfortunately, in a country where Democrats have constantly dehumanized us like this, it's going to be tough to do.
Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component of fascism is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist nationalism.
We are now living in a fascist dictatorship.
And we are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. We're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government.
Not only to roll over to Donald Trump's will, but to roll over our democracy and allow him to take over this country as a fascist dictator.
When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core."
Yeah. That isn't all, though. That's not all of it. These folks have been saying all types of crazy things for a while now.
Stochastic terrorism is, right, when a leader uses language that is more likely than not to radicalize.
Democracy is on the ballot still.
Democracy is on the ballot.
Democracy is on the ballot.
Democracy's on the ballot.
Democracy's on the ballot.
Democracy is literally on the ballot.
Democracy is on the ballot for this election.
Vice President Harris has made very clear that democracy is on the ballot here.
Democracy, of course, is, as the
the president likes to say, on the ballot.
Terrorism experts call this stochastic terrorism, where somebody has been so demonized that it creates this heightened risk of lone wolf actors.
Donald Trump is turning this nation into Nazi Germany.
You now have a president, as you said, talking about exterminating Latinos.
A re-election of Donald Trump could mean the end of democracy.
This would be the end of America.
An actual Trump-led wannabe empire is the end of democracy.
Stochastic terrorism is a way of using language that is clearly meant to incite some percentage of the people listening for a violent purpose.
What does that potentially do for unbalanced people out there?
He is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
He is destructive for our democracy, and he has to be eliminated. Yeah, that was a Democrat that said that live on air. But it's not their fault at all. What happened? None of it is their fault. Right? This Democrat Party makes me sick. Makes me sick. They spew out all of this nonsense, and then when something happens, they throw up their hands. Oh no, we don't have anything to do with that. We don't have anything to do with that. I hope this party doesn't win for the next 40 years, for all I care. 40 years. That is just absolutely sickening. Absolutely sickening. But I just wanted to show y'all that, man, because I saw those clips of Nancy and Ilhan Omar, and I didn't even show you the clip of J.B. Pritzker, right? Blaming everything but themselves, right? Absolutely disgusting. And you know what's even crazier? In just a couple of weeks, if not a week, they're going to go right back to doing the exact same thing. Right back to doing the exact same, because that's what they did after Trump. I think people have forgotten Trump almost had his head explode on live television. A couple inches over, and this is a completely different story. They went right back to that same rhetoric right after that. And you mean to think they're not going to do the exact same thing, even though we just watched the man die? Millions upon millions of people? Across not just this nation, but this world. Just watch the man die because of what he believed in. And they're just going to go right back to it. Disgusting. I'm out.